Hello and welcome to SEO is Not That Hard. I'm your host, Ed Dawson, the founder of keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. I'm an SEO, developer, affiliate marketer and entrepreneur. I've been building and monetising websites for over 20 years and I've bought and sold a few along the way. I'm here to share with you the SEO knowledge, hints and tips I've built up over the years. Hello, welcome to the latest episode of SEO is Not That Hard. It's me, Ed Dawson here, as usual hosting. And today I'm going to talk about why you should be repurposing and reusing your content and how you can use AI to help. Okay, so the key thing here is that content nowadays, is published on so many platforms. People are looking for you in so many places. It might be YouTube, it might be through Google, it might be through your website, it might be through podcasts, it might be through LinkedIn, through TikTok, a whole bunch of places where, people are searching for either you or the information that you've got, the information you're trying to share or the products you're trying to sell, which means you can't just be in one place. You need to be in as many places as you possibly can. That obviously takes time, okay? And, to create different content for different platforms can be really time consuming. So that's why, first of all, the main thing is to repurpose the content that you produce. So however you produce the first time, you then want to take that content and repurpose it and use it elsewhere. So here's an example for what I've done with reusing and repurposing content in my time. So for example, you'll see that I have my SEO tips, 101 SEO tips. Now that came about from when we first created Keywords People Use. I noticed there's a bit of a time delay while we do some of the scraping of Google. So when we're doing the people also ask search for you on Keywords People Use, we have to go to Google, we have to do a search for the seed keyword you give, and then we have to literally replicate clicking around on the page and pulling different results down at different levels. And this can take a little bit of time. 20, 30 seconds, okay, it's not huge, but there's nothing worse than people just sat looking at a screen with the little symbol whirring around. If you even put the symbol whirring around, they don't know whether it's broken or not. So I thought, well, actually what we can do here is I can use this little break to just flash up some different content, some short SEO tips to show that people know, A, the process is working because these tips will scroll around. And also, they might learn something while they're waiting. Might be able to help them. And so I sat down and I wrote 101 of these tips so that hopefully it'd take a while for someone to sort of go through them all. Well, they had to be really quick because they needed to be able to be read in like 10 seconds. And that's where my tips first came from. And then I thought, right, well, I've created those tips. They were short. So I then just expanded them out into, only short paragraphs, a page maximum, and made it 101 quick SEO tips that people could download as a PDF. I also thought, no point in just keeping it on the PDF. We put it on Keywords People Use a page on the site with all those tips on. Okay, so here you can see I'm reusing it in different places on the site and also in different methods. So the 101 PDF download it's available now. You can, I think I'll mention it in the outro on this. You can go to my website and download your free copy of that. So it's great for getting people to interact with me and to, in exchange for an email address, so that I can, we can start to build a dialogue, build a conversation using those tips. I've also used those tips as podcast content. I released a series of those 101 tips over 10 podcast episodes earlier in 2024. And then that was 10 episodes and that's had some great reaction. Lots of people have downloaded and listened to those. And I then even repurposed it yet again. I then combined all those 10 episodes into one big episode that takes about an hour and a half to listen to, which is a long for me because I know most of my episodes are around about the 10 to 15 minute mark. I just squished them all into one. So if you want to listen to all 101 tips all in one go, then that podcast, is repurposed into one big podcast. Okay. So this shows how you can use one piece of content, which in the first instance was just created for those interstitial pages while people's results were loading, created it into web pages of its own, into PDF, into podcast. At some point I'm going to get them into a book and get that repurposed into a book and put onto Amazon. So it means that creative process can be reused time and time again. that's the example of how I did all that manually. Okay. Which, okay, there was still a time consuming element to that because every time I did it, it needed to have my touch point. Now, and I've mentioned this briefly in a sort of previous episode when I was talking about workflow automation. I'm now at the point where we can use AI to actually help you repurpose and reuse your content. So here's an example. I am now working with the workflow automation tools so that when I release a podcast, that podcast transcript is first of all, the podcast is transcribed by AI, and then the AI transcript is then fed into OpenAI's one preview model and summarized and created into a LinkedIn post, into a email list email. And I'm working on having it also then create a blog post to put on endorsement.com. So you can use the AI to do so much of this repurposing now, because before, okay, I might have done this podcast episode, spoken about myself and thought, right, okay, I've now got to manually go and create an email to send out to my list to promote it. I've got to manually write a LinkedIn post, and then go and post it manually on LinkedIn. Then I've got to write it into a blog post, okay? And that's hugely time consuming. Instead of just recording one podcast, I've now essentially got to do 4 times the work. But using AI, you can actually get AI to do a whole bunch of that work for you, and combine that with the work. And all of a sudden, what might have taken me a day, really, probably a day, or the best part of a day to record the podcast, then, create all the different pieces of content and interact with all the different platforms, just to do the donkey work of clicking the create a mailing list and then typing in the details of the audience, the campaign, all those things can now automate with the workflow and with AI for the content. And it's not just AI regurgitating from its large language model and sort of summarizing the entirety of the internet. It's working with my content. It's listening to and understanding my podcast, which is me, human, creating human-led content from my experience. So it's not just a summary of the internet. It's not hallucinating. It's not making stuff up. It's listening to what I've said. It's summarizing what I've said. It then sends me the copy. I mean, I don't publish anything without reading through it first. So you're never going to ever see me just automate AI content, even if it's based off my podcast, because I want to proofread everything. I want to make those small changes where I need to make changes, or scrub something if I think I don't like the tone of what it's saying or the style that it's saying it. But using AI to do that first pass of the repurpose takes it from being a process that takes, like I say, a day, to being a process that takes a matter of minutes. And that repurposing helps spread my reach, helps me reach new people, helps me stay in front of the people that I have reached. And it's something that you could be doing too. Now, I start with a podcast because that's my preferred method. I can sit down here, in front of the microphone, I can talk. And that's what works best for me. Now, for you, it might be you prefer to write, and you can sit down and you'll write something, and then you can repurpose from that written word. So even if you create a blog post, or even you just want to write a splurge of thoughts, because essentially really a podcast is a splurge of thoughts. You could, if you want to write your splurge of thoughts, you can then have the AI format that into a decent podcast for you. You could format into a decent blog post for you. You could format your LinkedIn posts, your Twitter posts from all that, and any other medium you want to go on. It could create a podcast script for you if you prefer to be able to, if you're not the kind of person that can just sit and talk in front of a microphone. You might, if you're a script, you can create that script for you, make it sound more natural than just reading out what's essentially a blog post. And using this, you can then spread your reach without having to spread the amount of time you need to spend on it. So I encourage you, go and look at your back catalogue of work that you've produced, see what's in there that could be reused, could be repurposed, and get out there and start doing it, start repurposing, start sharing, start growing your reach. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you later. Before I go, I just wanted to let you know that if you'd like a personal demo of our tools that Keywords people use, that you can book a free, no obligation, one-on-one video call with me, where I show you how we can help you level up your content by finding and answering the questions your audience actually have. You can also ask me any SEO questions you have. You just need to go to keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, where you can pick a time and date that suits you for us to catch up. Once again, that's keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, and you can also find that link in the show notes of today's episode. Hope to chat with you soon. Thanks for being a listener. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe and share. It really helps. SEO is not that hard. It's brought to you by keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. See why thousands of people use us every day. Try it today for free at keywordspeopleuse.com. To get an instant hit of more SEO tips, then find the link to download a free copy of my 101 quick SEO tips in the show notes of today's episode. If you want to get in touch, have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm at Channel 5 on Twitter. You can email me at podcast@keywordspeopleuse.com. Bye for now, and see you in the next episode of SEO is Not That Hard.